So, Jamie White, Head of SEO.
Sanjay Purewal, Senior SEO Strategist. So it was actually from university. I did an advertising degree and it was predominantly offline marketing. And then the first role out of it was a grad scheme.
SEO was my first job out of university, so 2009 when I graduated, went straight into a link building job, a Leeds agency, and we had a monthly link budget, so money to spend on links. That was how SEO was done back then.
It's the problem solving. A client will give you a brief, or sometimes we'll notice something's gone down, performance is where it's meant to be, what's the issue? And there's no kind of silver bullet. It's kind of, there's so many things at play, and I think it comes with experience where you get to a point where you can be like, these things will hopefully fix the issue. And I think the good thing is you've kind of identified the issue, there's a solution there, you implement it, and then you just see the traffic, the conversions and the visibility go up.
So for years, I've always said to make sure that you're fully set up on Google Search Console, all of your website properties and different folder paths and different subdomains, get set up on there, because the huge amount of diagnostics and performance data that comes through there is ever increasing. I think for a couple of years, Google probably didn't put as much focus on it. Analytics was always the way that people went to get all the performance data, but now Search Console is really sort of developing and they're putting a lot more information in there. Digital PR has become such a big influencing factor in SEO. Google's algorithms have adapted themselves to just ignore a lot of this spammy link building activity, and PR has become a really driving force in terms of acquiring that coverage and links.
I think it's just the way we, as a whole, search now as well. I mean, we've obviously got voice and we've got image searches and we've got different things like that as well. But even as a user now, we're more prone to kind of searching for more longer tail information now and a lot more query-based stuff. So it's always nice to kind of have your products there and your bread and butter effectively. But I think off the back of it, it's just making sure that you're always nailing every search intent possible. I think we always get caught up giving them, this is going to give you the biggest conversion, as opposed to this is actually going to bring the most people to your site. And it's kind of having the nice balance there in between.
I think, again, going back those 5 or 6 years, it was very much keyword by keyword, and Google would interpret it and rank different types of content for that term. I think Google's now much more adept at recognizing content clusters and the fact that people might mean the same thing even if they're saying different things, and ranking content that's suitable for a multitude of different terms.
Hire us would be number one. But no, outside of that, I think the main thing for me, we get kind of caught up in the SEO world about tools and Search Console and analytics and stuff. And for me, I always dumb it down, and in every strategy deck, I'll always show you, this is your head term and this is the SERP. And from the get-go, I'll tell you straight away, this is what Google likes to show as content. This is what Google likes to show us in terms of actual the page layout. So for me, the number one tip for me is a case of, go away and invest in these tools and they'll give you some sort of data to then look away at. But for me, the biggest indicator is what's on the SERP itself.
Set up and make sure you're fully set up on Google Search Console and get all of that data coming in.
A lot of times people will use freelance copywriters because they're a lot cheaper. And sometimes they just don't have the industry knowledge that you will have. So for me, getting someone that knows your product inside and out will help massively.
Invest, maybe not necessarily long term, but certainly in the short term in some kind of market analysis or market landscape tool. So SEMrush, Systrix, Ahrefs, all really good pieces of software to get an understanding of the landscape that you're operating in. And
the third one, I think, it's that development time. I think the one thing that we always struggle with, especially in COVID in particular, is that lack of dev resource. So if your SEO kind of can't get access to that dev resource, it just makes all your issues so much harder. So yeah, I think just having a cleaner dev resource and a better path for that is amazing.
And then probably other sort of software related side of things would be a crawling software. So Screaming Frog is a tool that we use a lot here. There's also Deep Crawl, which is much more enterprise level, but that'll give you an understanding of how your website is structured technically and the fundamental building blocks of that site. Because if there's real problems with the site being crawled or accessed by search engines, then your content, as good as it could be, just might not work and might not rank. Yeah, just over 3 months in this role at C3 since I joined, settled in really well, really quickly, and I think the thing that's really helped me there is the rate at which the business is growing. You don't feel like the new person for very long, because we have admittedly probably hired 20, maybe close to 25 people since I joined, which is phenomenal growth really. So the team that I work with here, the SEO strategy team, working closely with content and PR, they've all made me feel very welcome as well. There's some great leaders in those teams who all get SEO and understand how all the pieces come together.
It's kind of the freedom to be able to do what you want. So if you're an experienced SEO out there, no one's going to come here and kind of say to you, this is what you need to do. It's a case of, this is your client, these are the issues, go and figure the solution out. But at the same time as well, I've never felt like I was stranded. I've always had issues in the past where I've kind of said, right, I kind of don't know what to do here. And there's always going to be someone next to me that's going to be like, oh, well, have you tried this? Have you looked at this? I think right now we're forming a really good team cohesion, and that's going to keep getting better.
We're not just pigeonholed into one particular industry or working with websites on one particular platform. So from a technical and strategy perspective, that keeps things really interesting. We're constantly looking into new markets, new competitors, keyword opportunities, and that presents completely unique challenges in terms of how to rank for certain terms.
Having that team around you that knows every market pretty much inside and out.
Constantly varied, lots of excitement, lots of interesting opportunities to develop your skills and really try things out from a different side of things.
We're going to see some surprises. I think a lot of clients are actually going to start to be maybe upping the increased retainer for us, purely down to the fact that they're already talking about it. And I think things like user experience and CRO in particular, I think that team is going to mold into ours really well. And I think just for us, I think right now the SEO team is going to keep growing. And like I said, I think there's going to be a lot more scope as well.